Let's go straight to it this weekend. Mansfield,
Yep.
East Midlands derby. Excited, nervous, not bothered?
I'm always a bit nervous. Of course, I'm looking forward to the atmosphere because special place to be when it's packed, and there's going to be the extra energy because of the derby game. So, looking forward to that. But it's a really tough team to play against and to prepare against for me. So, nervous and excited at the same time. Probably something like that.
You mentioned obviously difficult team to break down. 15 matches unbeaten, I think, in all competitions. Mansfield now. Have you got a game plan in your head as to kind of how to bring an end to that little run?
Yeah. I won't share all that information with you, but no, we're going to try to be difficult to play against, try to attack, and of course try and keep the back door padlocked as well. So there's no easy way to play against them. It's going to be very tough, but I think we're worth worrying about as well. I think that's probably fair. So both teams, I'm sure, got some plans for each other.
Do you, with these sort of derby games now, do you have to sort of say to your side, look, don't get carried away with the emotion stuff. Stick to what you know, what we've discussed, what we've trained for, or is it really difficult for them not to get caught up in kind of all the, the vibe and the tension?
Well, I think the trick is use the emotion, because if you get the wrong set of emotions, then your performance can suffer. But if you get the right set of emotions, then your performance can be enhanced, and that's the trick for the players, to be able to use the atmosphere to help them focus on every action, every minute of the game. Use the atmosphere to give them extra energy to make one more run, one more recovery, one more push. This type of set of emotions, like the extra drive, the extra belief, the excitement, but then anxiety or choosing like overexcited or too much stress, like this can be dangerous. So it's a balance, and we have to try and get that somewhere near right, and then we can hopefully have a good performance.
Far be it for me to bring this up, but Notts County's record against Mansfield ain't great. I think away's been okay, but home's not been brilliant now. How kind of keen are you to kind of turn that around?
Yeah, since I've been here, I've been told a few times that
people like me.
Yeah, and that's nice, no, because you have a chance to talk now, because you asked me such a nice question. I can answer the question. So, but I had this plenty of times since I've been here. We can't win this pitch. We can't beat this team. This one is always the banana skin. And I think it's fair to say that we overcame a lot of those problems. The psychological problems that the club had, and certain people that have experienced certain things in the club. We overcame a lot of those problems, and this one is another one now. Okay, let's put that behind us, and then the next time we play each other, you can say a different question, like, well, last time you were brilliant and you won, and then it's no longer a thing anymore. Because
East Midlands derbies, those bragging rights on a Monday are a big thing, aren't they, at work?
Yeah, they should be, and we can't guarantee anything. We wish we could make a promise, but the only thing we can guarantee is the effort and try, and then we really, really hope that we give the people a chance to be in early on Monday, and big smile on their face, waiting for their work colleagues to arrive. So that would be brilliant. That's what we're aiming for.
And just final question from me, looks like a sellout crowd. Having Meadow Lane bouncing like that, it must be great to sort of give that for the fans and give them that kind of that joy on a Saturday. Yeah,
I think that's otherwise it's pointless. No, we might as well play behind closed doors if we're not gonna enjoy the occasion and the atmosphere. So I don't think there's a better environment in League Two for people to come and enjoy football. And you look at the incredible city. You can walk down the canal and stop at a watering hole somewhere, and come to the game and enjoy, and then afterwards you can go and enjoy the city more. So I don't think there's too many better things that you can be doing on a Saturday afternoon.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Have there been any updates on Jody Jones or Kevin Scott's injuries?
Kevin is he's been unlucky because he had a complication. Not that anything is wrong structurally, but just recovering from the surgery. Is feeling a lot of sickness and a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. which is of course we can expect that is normal, but sometimes you have more plain sailing and other times it's a bit more choppy, and Kedwin is getting through that. We try to support him as well as we can. He's doing well with that. And then with Jody's, we're still taking the precaution. We're really hoping that we can try and see like a big breakthrough, that he wakes up, feel this happens, that the player can feel much looser and better, but we just have to play by ear. It's a difficult one.
Now I've got quite a big stretch of games coming up with Wrexham, Gillingham, Mansfield as well. Is this like an important part of the season for whatever you want to achieve later on in the year? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that I would say that every stage of the season, quite honestly, we have to try to maintain a level and keep picking up points, and before we know it, we're going to be in the business end, and we want to be in a great position when we get there. So yeah, of course, this one is no different, and is obvious with the really big games, because the teams are at the top of the division at the moment, so they're even bigger. So yeah, we have to try and come through this month with good points.
And like you mentioned after the Derby game, the amount that your players were driven and the passion they showed against a higher league opposition. How is that going to go into this game as well, as it's also another local rivalry?
Well, I think that it's fair to say that the players were up for the game on Tuesday, and we're playing against an incredibly good team with an incredible following. I think we sold out. The away allocation was incredible for the Tuesday night in this trophy, and then I think the game was played really well. Both teams trying to play high energy with a lot of attacking attitude on the pitch, and I think it was brilliant. So now we had like a good taste of the away end being packed and the atmosphere. So this one's going to be bigger, but it was a good game to lead in.
And obviously Macaulay Longstaff was rested that game. Can we expect him back in the team this week?
Yeah, Macca is fine, but genuinely, he's picked up some really impressive numbers in high speed running, sprinting, and the volume of minutes that he's been playing. So he was like he was on my list of players I need to really look after. So yeah, he's in a good place, and I think he'll have plenty of energy for the weekend.
And you might be sitting top of the league, but you can see the 21. Mansfield got the best defence in the league. How has that affected preparation going into a game with such a strong defence to fight against?
Well, I mean, we played. Swindon was a brilliant team, unbeaten in the league. We had a tough game with them, but we overcame the hurdle, and we know we're playing against an excellent team. We have to be at our very best to try and get anything from them. So it's pretty clear for us that we have to play really, really well to try and create a chance to score, and we have to play really, really well to keep them out.
And then just one last question: what type of game are you expecting from the sellout crowds and the rivalry aspect? What type of game are you expecting on the pitch?
I think it's going to be two teams trying to attack with very high quality. Two teams committed. I don't think we're going to see too much like a cagey or one team trying to defend, the other trying to attack, something like that. I don't think it will be anything like that. I think it would be both teams hammer and tongs. I can't see another way, to be honest.
That's all good, thank you.
Thank you.
Hammer and tongs seems to throw up memory, like thoughts of 5-5 sort of stuff, considering some of the games that you've played in the season.
Well, I think one of the last times I was involved in a game against Mr. Clough, who was 5-5 in the playoff semi-final, second leg at Swindon. Sheffield United was 5-5. We were 2-1 on aggregate going into the game, and both teams just went hell for leather. In the end, the players coming over for a drink asking what the aggregate score was, and we didn't know, so we just told them to keep scoring. And it was just a crazy game. But I think both teams had at that stage, a we don't know when we're beaten attitude. And I think now I know my players just refuse to accept that they're beaten ever. So I think we have that type of, on paper, we have that type of occasion coming up.
For a second, I want to ask you about little Luke Williams and derby days. What sort of derbies did you grow up watching from the terraces? I don't even know what.
Yeah,
you
to be
supported.
honest, I didn't support a team, so yeah, I didn't support any team. But where I grew up, there's a lot of big clubs around, and a lot of my friends were season ticket holders. So I used to try to pinch a ticket to go and watch Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Leyton Orient, but unlikely to get the derby tickets. You know, because they were the ones where everyone who had a season ticket made sure they were there. So I didn't see too many growing up, honestly. But then my good pal was a top player, and so then I managed to get some great tickets over the years to see my pal playing, you know, for Brighton against Palace in that derby, and you know, Fulham and Chelsea. So I've been to some big derbies over the years, but me personally, no. When I was young watching games, I didn't ever have a season ticket. I never committed to one club. I just tried to get to any game that I can get to, really.
Oh, that's amazing. Who'd you end up? Can you say anyone that you supported as a child?
No,
There you go.
I never had a team. Never had a season ticket. Never went week in, week out to anyone. No, never have done. I worked for West Ham, so when I worked there, we had Millwall. You know, and I could tell it was a derby for everyone there, but not really have a strong association. So I didn't feel it in the same way.
Yeah, well, there you go. We're talking about strong associations, though. I guess you'd probably know what Notts fans are going to feel like. These are literally fans that you shared beers with, you know, after you obviously let your hair down at the end of last season, memorably sort of getting out and about. Do you feel like you know them better, that gives you even greater connection, because you've always spoken about the connection, but that must have really, those moments after that final must really tie you to them?
I will never experience anything like it. When I arrived back here on the coach, it took me 2 hours to get from the front gate to reception. 2 hours, because I was with my extended family, and I will never ever forget. Some of the stuff that happened after that, I must admit, I will forget, because I drank 2 lemonades too many. But no, the reception that we all received, and I will never forget the reception I received ever. And now I understand what a derby feels like when you're invested in a team. Because like I said, I was never heavily invested in a team to know what a derby really felt like. But like, for example, when we played Wrexham away last season, and that had just become like a derby game, then I understood what it feels like to live it, and now I know, because I go to the game with like 16,000 people, so you know what the derby feels like now.
Yeah. Does this feel like one of the big moments on Notts County's return to the EFL? Sure, there's the first game you guys are back, there's the first home game, but then there's the derby. For some reason, it really feels like just a significant moment right now. Yeah,
maybe. I think so many things, genuinely, since I got here, so many things have been so big that it almost just feels like it's just normal. Like now, this is what we do. The games all become huge because, you know, from Christmas onwards, we had to win every game. If you drew a game, you know it's like going to be a disaster and whatever. Then we have the playoff games. They're just massive, you know, with the way that the games were played out as well. You know, they became even bigger occasions because last minute goals and penalty shootouts and whatever. And then the next time you play is in a new division. It's the first time back after a long time. So just too many games now are so big, which I think is brilliant. I spoke to the players when we first came back. We first reported back after the summer. The first conversation was, okay, let's review the Boreham Wood game and the Chesterfield game, because we need to learn how better to play in big games. Because if we want to be really serious as a group and continue to be successful, big games are going to come up a lot. So we have to get better at playing in the big games. So really tomorrow, like I'm really looking forward to seeing the players like perform really correctly in this atmosphere is obviously it's going to be a big game, and they need to show how they can deal with that. I'm looking forward to that, because then we're starting to progress as a group, like that we can cope in the biggest games, play our game.
What's it like right now? Top of League Two. You're talking about you want to see the team progress within a game, but you guys are flying in League Two. Is this all unexpected? I know nothing's been achieved yet, but is this a sort of pinch me sort of few weeks moments?
No, because the league is so tough and all the games have been tough. But we need to find a way to perform better, that we can control the game more, and we have not done that well enough yet. So it only feels like we still have work to do. It doesn't feel like it just doesn't feel like we're anywhere at the moment. It feels like we're trying to improve game on game, and like we take a step forward and then we don't finish the job correctly. Like we're 2-0 up, and then before we know it, we're 2-2. Then we go in at half time 3-0 up, and then the game becomes very, very tough in the second half. Then we control the game really nicely. We go 1-0 up away from home, and then we let the game become really open like basketball. So for me, it just feels like we're on a path. We're trying to make our performances better, and until we get there, I don't think we look in the mirror and say, right, we belong where we are. This is this is the least we deserve. We got here because we made the games very difficult for our opponents to beat us, and we gave ourselves a great chance to win game on game, and that's why we're here. At the moment, it feels like we're close, we're there or thereabouts, but we have a lot to do.
Yeah. Talking about getting here, just realised yesterday you at the young age of 42, you've been coaching, managing for more than half your life now.
Yeah.
What was it that stopped your career in the first place? 'Cause am I right to say that you're knocking around Norwich's sort of youth system, and then
I was picked up early. Norwich was by the way, Norwich was amazing then, because when I think back, like the stuff that Norwich were doing then was so far in front of the time. It's incredible. Like, I mean, I was playing in schoolboy football, and we had the captain of the Welsh national team, the captain of the Irish national team, playing in the same youth team game, and being flown over from another country and like the standard was incredible, and like the first team finished second in the Premier League behind Manchester United. I don't think at the time I quite grasped like this club is really pushing, you know. And then I was fortunate, like I grew up in an area in London where there was, I mean, at the time you don't know it, you just know that you're playing football with good players around you, but like in my county team, there's 6 players that play for England. Like, you know, it's
who are they?
Guys like John Terry, guys like James Harper, like Darryl Russell, guys like Bobby Zamora, guys like Nicky Shorey. Like a lot of these players played for England, played in the Premier League. At the time, you don't know. You just know that they're good. You don't know what they're going to go on to achieve. So, yeah, you know, growing up playing in a really, really tough, tough level of football, and probably didn't quite realise at the time. But then I didn't make the cut, and then by the time I tried to regroup and gather myself to try and make something, at 19 I'd done a ACL and meniscus and lateral collaterals. I had 5 surgeries between 19 and 23. I had surgery 5 times to rebuild my knee, but by then it's you've missed too much and it's impossible. So then you're just lost in the world, not knowing who you are anymore, you know, and start to try and make a life. So I'd done work in a warehouse and drove a minibus and done some coaching.
Was that at West Ham?
Leyton Orient. I started coaching at Leyton Orient, then I ended up in West Ham, and they put me with young offenders because they needed somebody who would turn up and to an estate and show up on time and show up the next week, even though it was the carnage and fights everywhere and So I ended up picking up a lot of work because I was prepared to work and I needed to make some money and whatever. And I was brought up like, if you have a job, you turn up and you try. You know what I mean? That was the thing, was just give everything. If you're stacking the lorry up, do it properly. If you're driving a minibus, be on time, drive properly, and whatever. So I started coaching, and then fortunately I picked up more hours coaching, and then before I know it, I was a coach. That was it. I
always got the impression you were sort of basically had managerial notebooks by your bedside as a child. It's just dawned on me that you fell into all this. And
yeah, I fell into it, and then I was coaching, trying to make some money, and really because coaching was more enjoyable than working in the warehouse or driving a bus, and I love football, and I had as a young player, I had a taste for the game. I loved the game, but then as a young adult, just trying to make money and whatever, and I got more and more coaching hours because I turned up and because I tried, and people rebooked me, and then I got a call from somebody at Brighton because I heard my name a few times popped up. I got a call totally out of the blue, and they said, "Would you like to interview to be an under-21s coach for Gus Poyet?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And then that was it. And that was it. And I met Gus, and then about 2 weeks later, Gus offered me the job, under-21s manager. On the Saturday, they had their last pre-season friendly against Aberdeen, I think. And after the game, Gus said to me, come in Monday, and I'll introduce you to the players. We only have a few at the moment, like 6 under-21s, but I'll introduce you to them and we'll get going. So I kind of accepted the job on the Saturday afternoon after a pre-season friendly, and then I had to drive back to Essex where I was living and tell everyone I'm not coming back to work, that's me done, I'm going to work for Brighton. And so I went to work for Brighton, and then I ended up here.
Well, it'd be easy for you to say that you've done nothing but look up since then, but there's been bumps along the road. What does all this represent to you? What you've been able to get at Notts, the opportunity they gave you after that shot in first team management didn't go the way you wanted, like before last season, what you had to your first team management CV was a relegation.
Yeah.
But now your name, you type in Luke Williams to try to find something out about you, and your name is linked to just about every managerial vacancy going in second season. What are moments like this in a person's life feel like when you're?
I mean, look, I would say, you have beggars and choosers, and my whole life up until I arrived at Notts, I was a beggar, and then I became a chooser, and the people here, they made me a chooser. So I'll prefer to stay a chooser. I don't want to go back to being a beggar, but we never know what life holds for us, and wherever I end up, I will just apply myself 100% and work hard, and that, hopefully, my mentality is that will protect me against whatever happens. So I'll just give everything I've got while I'm here, and hopefully it will keep me being a chooser for a long time to come.